All right, let's call to order. It's Brainerd City Council. It's Monday, April 7th, 2025, 7:30 p.m. Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins.
Here.
Chesak.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Stunek.
Here.
Yeager.
Yep.
Erickson.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Badot.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we're looking for approval of the agenda. I would like to move 2 items out of respect for everybody here. We have a full agenda after a 3-week break. I'm sure you guys want to hear all that stuff too, but just in case for a few of you that might not, I'd like to move 9A and 9B right behind our public forum.
Mr. Chair, or Ms. PNF had one change as well. Item 5 moved to item 1. I would approve your request along with that as well.
Thank you.
With the motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by, I think we had a motion by Chesak, second by Erickson. 5 to 1. Explain that to me. What was that?
We had an item that was originally listed as number 5 on our
Oh,
agenda. We moved it up to the top just so people could get upstairs for the
Got it.
safety and public works.
thank you. All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. We have an agenda. Next, we have a consent calendar. This is a notice to the public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call.
Motion to approve consent, Mr. President.
Second by Tad.
Motion by Chesak, second by Bevins. Any more discussion? Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Erickson. O'Day.
Yes. Moving on to number 6, this is public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. Time limits may be imposed. So at 7:33, I will open the public forum. If anybody's here to address the council on any matters that are not listed on the agenda, please come forward. And if you're online and you would like to address the council, please press *3. I'll ask again, if anybody is here to address the council on anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. Looks like no. I'm going to wait till 7:34. You got 5 seconds. At 7:34, we will close the public forum. Moving on to 9A. This item is consideration of an interim use permit for the operation of a year-round warming shelter at 1926 South 7th Street. And this is Community Development Director James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Janice Sjogren has submitted a request on behalf of Bridges of Hope for an interim use permit to operate a warming shelter for the homeless in the Brainerd Lakes area at 1926 South 7th Street. The current interim use permit for the shelter expires on June 30th of 2025. The facility operates between the months of September 1st and April 30th of each year. The applicant is proposing to operate the shelter year-round. According to the findings of fact, the shelter meets all conditions of Section 515-3-34 pertaining to warming shelters. Staff did include an incident report from the police department that had concerns about increasing incidents in the neighborhood. Staff's recommendation at the Planning Commission was for the warming shelter to only operate between the months of September and April, and indicated inconsistencies with the comprehensive plan. The motion coming out of the Planning Commission meeting was as followed by a 3-2 vote. Recommend approval of the interim use permit renewal with the following conditions. Interim use permit shall expire on June 30th of 2028. The facility must operate between the months of September 1st and April 30th of each year. The facility may operate from April 30th through August 31st in 2025, essentially a trial year. If the Brainerd Police Department determines that the facility has been used in a disorderly manner and upon the recommendation of the police chief, the interim use permit shall be brought before City Council for review and consideration for suspending or revoking the permit at the next available City Council meeting. And finally, the shelter staff shall provide a report to the City Council each year prior to September 1st. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. We did already have a public hearing at the planning and zoning level. I assume most of the council, hopefully all the council members, have watched that back. But at this time, I'd like to hear from council. Any questions that you have for Mr. Kramvik? I know the applicant is here, Mrs. Sjogren. If you have questions for her as well, that's totally fine, but I'll open it up for discussion. Any questions for staff? Mr. Johnson.
I've got a couple questions. I got one for James Kramvik. Your initial staff recommendation at planning and zoning was to continue operating the warming shelter under the warming shelter ordinance as a warming shelter during the cold winter months. Can you explain why that was the staff recommendation at the time?
Yes, I'll go to the findings of fact when discussing the comprehensive plan. So the first part of it, the proposed use shall preserve the objectives of the ordinance and shall be consistent with comprehensive plan. The proposal is consistent with Public Safety Goal 1. Brainerd will protect and provide for the safety of all residents and visitors, make efficient use of existing facilities to ensure access to emergency service for all residents and visitors. Again, the warming shelter has provided an asset to the community to shelter those in need during extremely cold winter conditions, and shelter staff have worked well with emergency services. Staff did indicate that the proposal is not consistent with Public Safety Goal 1. Brainerd will protect and provide for the safety of residents and visitors. Policy 3, continuously seek to eradicate crime through innovative contemporary strategies, including preventative, proactive, and responsive measures. Again, after reviewing the incident report from the police department, certainly there was a correlation in increased incidents in that neighborhood, so staff did have concerns.
Thank you. And then one more question of the police chief. I don't have a staff recommendation, which you would have been included in, but I kind of want to hear it from your mouth, Chief Davis. Do you recommend us approving a year-round operation over at the warming house?
Let me share with council some of our observations that we've seen over the last few years. And first of all, I want to say that the warming center has been a good community partner with us. We've had a good relationship, and they've really, during those winter months when there's unsheltered individuals, have been a tool to address what we consider sometimes a very dire emergency in the cold of winter. What we've seen over the last few years, and I would say my primary concern is we're steadily seeing a draw from outside of the city, outside of this community, of individuals seeking services such as the warming center. We've had numerous discussions, and we're aware of, for example, law enforcement agencies outside of Crow Wing County that when they're addressing issues with individuals, they have guided them and assisted them at times to come to Brainerd. And one of the reasons made aware to us is partly due to we have a warming center. We're aware of other organizations and entities outside of Crow Wing County that support homeless individuals, and there's been times where maybe there's been limitations to their support, and therefore, once again, made arrangements for individuals to come to Brainerd, remain in Brainerd for the warming center. Through discussions with individuals from larger cities, Fargo, Duluth, St. Cloud, we've been told that now that Brainerd has some similar resources, such as some of these larger cities do, that individuals would have come to Brainerd and would prefer being in Brainerd due to a smaller community, easier access, walkability, easier access to services, less crime and violence. So we're seeing some draw from some of those larger cities. Specifically, the last few months, individuals from St. Cloud, and it's our understanding through conversations that some of these individuals had lost their privileges at the St. Cloud shelter, and therefore, since they lost the privileges, now relocating up to Brainerd for some of these type of services. And our concern primarily is a year-round model, what that would look like as far as the draw. And would we, these really good resources, the question is these really good resources that we have here for our own community, would we be exhausting those if we continue to have the draw that we've seen? Would that increase significantly if, we went to a year-round model? And then, also I think a big, difference is, like I started to say, during the winter, unsheltered at night is an acute crisis, an acute emergency. I don't want to minimize the struggles of anyone in the summertime that doesn't have shelter. However, I don't identify that as the same type of critical emergency where they need to get into shelter as we do in the winter. So therefore, I'm still fully in support of, a wintertime season, but my support falls short for some of those observations and concerns that I just illustrated.
Thank you, Chief. That's all I have, President.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else have questions for staff?
I have a motion when you're ready.
Okay. Go ahead with the motion.
My motion is to approve the recommended approval of the interim use renewal with those following conditions.
Motion? Not hearing a second. No second. That motion fails for lack of second. Mr. Johnson.
I'll give it a shot. I would move to approve the interim use permit renewal with the following conditions. The interim use permit shall expire on June 30, 2028. The facility will operate in the months September 1st through April 30th of each year. The Brainerd Police Department determines the facility has been found disorderly manner, and upon the recommendation of the police chief, the interim use permit shall be brought before the city council for review and consideration for suspending or revoking the permit at the next available council meeting, and the shelter shall provide an annual report to the city council, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I would like to speak to, we've heard staff's concerns about it going year-round, and I just want to speak to the history of the warming shelter. I was on the council when they first applied, and they first applied kind of late in the season. It was October, November, and I was kind of a champion of it. I really supported it. I really pushed to hold special meetings so we could get the warming shelter ordinance drafted, so we could get the warming shelter permit given out to the Bridges folks, so they could get a warming shelter operating in our community, because I fully support having a warming shelter here, and I think it's an absolutely necessary need for our community and provides a great service to those who are most vulnerable in those cold winter months. And that's why I make this motion.
Mr. Bevins.
I echo everything Mr. Johnson said. I think this is really proven to be an excellent project and something that our community has benefited from. That being said, I'm a little bit disappointed in that I'm not exactly sure that homelessness is not a problem in the summer. Might be less of a critical problem, as the chief said, but I might disagree with the chief in that if the warming house was opened in the summer, it may reduce the amount of work you have to do rousting people from public lands with our new ordinance. That being said, I'll certainly support the amended or shortened motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bevins. Mr. Yeager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. O'Day. To say that this is a nuanced conversation would be the vast understatement of the world. I was very concerned about me personally finding the right space when this topic came before me. I have visited both shelters. I have visited the leadership of both shelters. I have talked to the county. I've had a lengthy conversation with Mr. Davis. I have really dug into this, not just in our own community, but also in surrounding communities, because I really feel like, just me personally, I wanted to get this one right. It's highly nuanced. The group of people that this serves is highly nuanced, and People come from all different walks of life that find themselves in this position with all different needs. Are all of them good? No. Are all of them bad? No. It's a complicated issue. I am in support of this shelter continuing its services through the summer months for primarily three main reasons, and I'm just going to quickly summarize. One is I believe that the camping ban was absolutely the right decision. I believe that as a city, that is the right decision for all of the stakeholders at place. Does it complicate this issue? Can, yeah, absolutely, but I ultimately think it was the right decision. I want to enable our law enforcement to be able to have an ordinance when they go out and they talk to someone that says, and that person asks, where do we go? I want them to be able to say, these are some options for you to go. So I feel like I want this to continue through the summer, mostly to not only to help the people, but to also enable our law enforcement to have an option there as well. Second, and this is one of the most important ones, is I had no idea how robust the volunteer people in this community are and just how eager they are to serve. When I visited both of these shelters, we have churches, we have private individuals, we have just an unbelievable amount of people who invest of their time, effort, energy, money, and so forth into bettering this, into this cause, into helping the people that need help. And I believe that I would like to be on the side of a champion for the people that volunteer for the other people, right? I want to support the people that want to support people. So that's one of the key reasons why I'm on that same side. Ultimately, I kind of found myself in a position of, okay, is this all good? No. Is there bad here? Absolutely. I find that what I ultimately am coming down to this is this more good than bad? And I think one of the key factors to me finding the place in that decision was the fact that we are starting to talk about people coming from other communities to here. A lot of people that would land on them as a concern. That lands on me as a success that needs to be managed. So while I certainly do see that us becoming a destination or refuge city for people that need these types of services absolutely comes with risk and absolutely has concerns, I see that as we have something good here that people want to get to, and I refuse to, exclusively measure the virtues or the shortcomings of human beings simply by their station in life, even if it's of their own doing. So that is why I will ultimately support this. However, I have concerns. One of my key concerns is data. Every single person that I've visited that runs one of these shelters said at their own, by their own will, that they are a person of data. However, when I asked very simple data questions like who are these people, where do they come from, do they have warrants, nobody really knows. There's very loose data attached with this group of people. There's some, but it's very loosely monitored and it's very loosely regulated. So the PIT study, if you're familiar with the PIT study, it's one of the ways how we kind of get a count on who these people are and how many of them are is in my opinion, a very terrible way to get this count. So that leads me to one of my other concerns is that if these institutions and the people that are wanting to do this work want to come before us and ask for us to support them, I absolutely am encouraging the leadership of these entities to do a better job with data, to give us the tools to not be wading through the murkiness of what exactly is going on and how we can better help. That was probably the most frustrating part of me digging into this, is I just couldn't get a lot of square answers. So because of the concerns, I believe it's a mistake to extend to the 3 years. And the reason why I say that is when you look at the data that is produced, predominantly the PIT data, it's showing some astounding growth in the homeless in this contingency of people, the homeless population. Crow Wing County is up 53% in just 2 years, 22 to 24. The national average is up 32% in 22 to 24, and Minnesota is up 16% in 22 to 24. That to me says 3 years is way too long to move forward with just saying this is a good thing. I would like for us to look at this every year, and I would like to encourage the leadership to come back to us with better data so that we can help, not restrict, but help make good decisions. And so for that reason, I'm in support of it, but I will not support a 3-year extension of this with no checks and balances. So that's kind of where I'm at, guys. And I want to also say, I appreciate all of the time and effort and the volunteers that do this work, and I was astounded at how many good people are in this city. That's all. Sorry, I took up too much.
You're good. Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Anyone else? Nobody?
We have the motion restated again.
You want to restate your motion?
Yeah, I'd move to approve the interim use permit with the following conditions. The interim use permit shall expire on June 30th, 2026. The facility operates between months of September 1st and April 30th each year. If the Brainerd Police Department determines that the facility has been used in a disorderly manner, upon the recommendation of the police chief, the interim use permit shall be brought to the city council for review and consideration for suspending or revoking the permit at the next available city council meeting, and that the shelter shall provide an annual report to the city council. And I so move.
I'm so sorry, I thought I heard 2028 in the original motion. I apologize. I heard that too. Okay.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I was going to ask you if you wanted to change your motion, but that's accurate. Okay. If no one else has comments, I will say the chief's comments were my main concern as well. And if there were more cities with this type of shelter that were sized right for their community, I think that would be a better layout for the state in general. I call on the rest of those communities to look into this, try to do something like this warming shelter has done. It's been overall it's been successful. But as other communities aren't pulling forward and bringing warming shelters to their community, it then rains down on this community to take on that burden, if you want to call it that. So I'd like to see this every year too, see what changes. I think it's a good idea to shorten it. A lot's changed in 3 years, a lot can change in 1 year. So I'm going to support the motion. And if there's no more discussion, looks like none. Can we get a roll call, Tony?
Bevins?
Yes.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. That motion passes. Next, we will be moving on to 9B. If you were just here for the shelter, I'll give you a couple minutes to clear the room. All right, thank you. Moving on to 9B. 9B, we have consideration of a conditional use permit for a boarding house on Northwest 3rd Street, My Neighbor to Love. Again, this is Community Development Director James Kramvik. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Vicki Kinney has submitted a request on behalf of My Neighbor to Love Coalition for a conditional use permit to construct a mixed-use residential 8-bedroom single occupancy boarding house with an attached apartment for the property manager on Northwest 3rd Street. The project meets the landscaping, off-street parking, and design standards of the zoning code. In staff's opinion, the project does not have to meet the dwelling units per acre requirement in the TN2 district, as boarding houses are not a dwelling unit and is listed on commercial uses. The definition of a dwelling unit is as follows: a building or portion thereof designated exclusively for residential occupancy, one or more rooms designated, occupied, or intended for the occupancy as separate living quarters with cooking, sleeping, and sanitary facilities provided within the dwelling unit for the exclusive use of a single family maintaining a household, does not include hotel, motel, or boarding rooms. However, a boundary line adjustment is required so the stormwater facilities are located on the same property as the proposed project. The boundary line adjustment will affect the overall density of the neighborhood and can be considered when reviewing the application, as the TN2 district is intended to provide for a compact, pedestrian-oriented mix of residential and neighborhood-serving commercial uses. So according to the plan, a significant amount of space is taken up by the parking and stormwater facilities. With that, the Planning Commission recommendation is as follows by a 3-2 vote. Recommended approval of the conditional use permit to allow for a mixed-use boarding house at the properties indicated with the following conditions. The applicant is allowed 18 months to start the project. A boundary line adjustment, which includes the stormwater retention basin, is approved prior to issuance of the building permit. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Anybody have questions for staff? Nobody? Okay.
Got a motion to approve as recommended by staff with the two conditions as presented.
Motion by Erickson,
Second by Tad.
second by Bevins. Any discussion? Anybody have discussion? Oh, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I'll be voting no for the same reasons I gave the last time they applied and received approval for a boarding house, and that's, I don't think it fits the comprehensive plan. I don't think it fits the zoning code in TN2. I don't think that it just fits that zoning district, and I don't know what more I can say about it. So I'll just be voting no because I think it's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Go ahead.
Mayor?
You're a council member. Yep.
Go right ahead.
Please, thank you, Mr. Chair. I will also be voting no on this. I was a part of the planning commission when a lot of these projects were brought forward to us. I want to first state that my position of no is not a position of I'm against this type of work. And I think that is unfortunately a really kind of common default place of both the public as well as applicants, as well as we're all guilty of this, that just because we don't agree with the methodology means we don't agree with the work. And I am not in that position. I believe in low-income housing. I absolutely believe in workforce housing. I believe in the need. And so because I was also a part and very much appreciated being a part of some of the zoning work that we did years ago when we looked at this site, the spirit and the intent of these specific sites was high density. We saw apartment buildings here. We saw multiple dwelling units in these areas. There was also, when this particular applicant came before us, there was quite a bit of dialogue that happened regarding, okay, if we're not using the entire site, we want to maintain the trees. What I dislike is that when we begin to process, when the process begins, where design work begins to take over and we start looking at these projects, all of a sudden we say, okay, well, we can't keep the trees because of X, Y, Z, when in fact, that's not really the case. There are ways to keep the trees on sites like this. The stormwater management could absolutely be done subterraneanly underneath the driveway. We don't necessarily just have to take every single project, whack down every single tree on the parcel just for stormwater. I do not subscribe to that method of approaching construction inside cities that have mature growth. We're fortunate that we are a city that does have mature vegetation. So I just don't support that whole mindset of just clear cutting a property, whacking down every single tree on it just because it's the easiest way to do stormwater. And for that, I will not be supporting this mostly on the boundary adjustment because I just don't feel that meets the comprehensive plan. So I will be in that position here. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so I don't know how many of you actually watched the planning and zoning meeting, but citizen Mike Duval came forward and spoke against the project for multiple reasons. But the thing that I was really surprised by was the language of the boarding house itself and how that fits into our plans and how it fits into zoning in general. And to tell you the truth, after listening to him speak, I don't think I support boarding house in general. Mainly because I think that there's a little too much wiggle room in what can be allowed where and in what zoning. It essentially felt like you could basically pick and choose what you wanted to do with a boarding home, whether you wanted it to be in commercial or residential and how many units it is, how many things. It just seemed like there was way too much wiggle room in there. And I will say that as a homeowner, if my next door neighbor became a boarding house, I would be very upset because it's essentially becoming a hotel, if you will. And it's very hard to then have that as a resident who then has no control over what the next unit's going to be next to them. It's not specific to this project, but it's specific to the idea that I think that we are supposed to set parameters. And I don't know how I feel about that parameter of a boarding home being able to shift its way back and forth between multiple different types of zoning within the city. So because of that, I just lost support of boarding homes in general. Specifically to this project, I just want to speak very, very briefly to the group themselves. As council members, we are representatives of the city. We are representative of the citizens of Brainerd. It's very disheartening that your group continually throws this council under the bus, continually. And so I'm going to speak directly out to your group right now and say, no matter what the outcome of this is, I would ask that you please understand that the people that are up here are making decisions based off what they think is best for the entire city. And what we are supposed to do is take projects on a basis of what will this mean going forward as a larger scale for the city. And I can say that when your representative comes forward at the Planning and Zoning Committee and says, what is your biggest hurdle? Our biggest hurdle is the city council. Well, that puts me in a mindset right away where I say, why would I want to continue to fight for what you're doing if what you're doing is going to continually be coming back at us and saying that we're not doing what you want to do, therefore we are creating roadblocks for you. City council is basically here to make decisions based off of what they think is best for the entire city, and I would just kindly, gently recommend that when things don't go in the direction that we like, that we don't continue to throw people under the bus for those decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else? I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Yeager for all the reasons that they've listed. I appreciate the comments by Mayor Bedeau, although those concerns probably about boarding houses in general is something maybe we should visit following this item moving forward, revisiting the idea of whether we want them or not, where we want them or not, where they can be allowed in a conditional use. But I think those reasons that I would vote no have already been listed by Mr. Johnson and Mr. Yeager, so I will be voting no. If there's any more discussion? Looks like not. Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Stunek?
No.
Yeager?
No.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
No. That motion fails, 4-3.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I have a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson.
I'd move to deny the request for the CUP and direct staff to come back with the right language at the next meeting,
Based on your comments. and
based on
Mr.
the
Yeager's.
comments that we made.
Second. Oh, sorry.
The motion by Johnson, second by Yeager. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign.
No.
That motion passes 6-1. Okay. Moving on from 9B, we're going to go back to committee reports. And that would be 7A. 7A is Safety and Public Works Committee. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had two items on our agenda, the first of which is consider removing park-maintained flagpoles. The motion coming out of committee is to direct staff to seek funding information for locking and mechanical equipment to raise and lower those flagpoles, as well as to seek costs for lighting those flagpoles, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak.
Several flagpoles, I don't know if we can get the graphic on the screen there, but the blue circles on the map there represent privately owned flags. The one single red one there is one that we already have this piece of equipment on, that we are able to lower and raise that flagpole in a way that is locked so that the public could not tamper with it. The four flagpoles on Front Street with the X's do not have that capability, and they do not have the appropriate lighting. And so the recommendation, after a lot of discussion and some information from staff, was again to get costs on the additional mechanisms and lighting for those four flagpoles.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Erickson.
All right, thank you. Our second item was to discuss assessment methodology for improvement 2314. And with this project, there are three roadways and one alleyway that are included in this. And the reason that this came before us is that staff anticipates additional costs associated with the alleyway. And so the question that was raised is, should we follow the traditional assessment policy, or should we break out the assessment for the alleyway separately? The motion is that we should follow our current assessment policy, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by, was that Yeager?
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion?
Just reiterate what I said, I got a little ahead on the discussion there, but the current assessment policy would be to add up the entire cost divided by frontage.
Okay, 50% assessed to the community, 50% to the owners, assessed by frontage. All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion passes. Mr. Erickson?
End of report, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. Moving on to 7B. Personnel and Finance Chairman Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 9 items, the first of which was the fifth of which, is the accept the resignation of Christopher Evans. And the motion is to accept the resignation of Public Utilities Director Christopher Evans, effective April 4th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. More discussion?
I will say, I think we all read the resignation. There are some pretty inflammatory comments in it. I think, I've met with senior staff. I've met with Nick Broyles. I've met with the HR director to kind of address some of these accusations that were made to make sure that we're operating a healthy environment. And from what I've learned so far, we have room to improve, but I think we're doing a good job. And if any of our employees feel that there is something unsafe, hostile, wrong with the workplace, I'd ask them to refer to the employee policy manual where it is addressed, and there are actions that you can take as an employee if you have those concerns,
Rather than resign.
rather than resign and make accusations, yeah.
Okay.
President O'Day.
Mr. Chesak.
Mention of a resignation letter was, it's missing. Where is it in our packet? I find that quite interesting that, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think there was anything about unsafe work environments or anything to that effect, but that may be just a matter of interpretation too. I look at that and I see an element of truth, perhaps not in its entirety, but I'd have a question, why is not the resignation letter in the packet as it seems to be in most any other resignation? Maybe somebody can answer that?
Mr. Broyles?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good question. Perhaps there was some miscommunication. I've heard a couple things. I've heard we sent this letter of resignation out to all the council members, so that wasn't necessary to be in the packet. And correct, forgive me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chesak, but I thought that we had perhaps had a discussion that we could pull this letter, but I could be wrong, so I apologize if that was misunderstood. But, and also as I talked to our attorney, he said if this has been sent out to all the council members, that there wasn't a necessity for it to be in the packet.
Mr. President.
Yep, Mr. Chesak.
Nick, the other item was related to, give me a second here. It wasn't this resignation letter. If you give me a second to think about what it was. It had to do with the email you sent on October 28th, I believe. That was the one that I asked you to take off. Are you agreeable to that?
Yes, if I think I understand what you're referring to, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. And in most every instance, we provide the resignation letter, and is it in the meeting room, in the information that is supposed to be here according to the open meeting law? Is that resignation letter in the meeting room for the public's review?
It is not in the room.
Okay, so therefore, we should have it in our packet, even if it was provided to us. That's an item that we base our decision on. According to the open meeting law, that's something that's required to be in the room. Will it get included in the packet online so the public can review it, Mr. Broyles, after this meeting?
Mr. Chesak, do you mind if we refer to our attorney? If that's a question or a statement?
It's a public document.
Yep, I know. He has his hand up.
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and council, it is a public document to the extent that, to the extent that it doesn't include private data and other individuals. But just because it is a topic of this agenda item does not mean it automatically has to be in a council packet under the open meeting law. I think that that statement is overbroad in terms of how the open meeting law works. It is not required that it be in the packet.
Thank you, Mr.
President
Lyon.
O'Day,
Yes, Mr. Chesak.
what are we required to have in the meeting room are items that we base our decision on. Any documents that are shared. That is in the open meeting law, Joel.
No, sir, it is not.
Yes, it is. I'll show it to you. I can pull it up right now if you'd like.
You can do that if you like, but I disagree with your interpretation.
Again, the documents that are shared with the council that we base our decision on, according to the open meeting law, whether it's, excuse me? Is somebody saying something down there? I heard somebody talking. I'd like to know.
I'm sorry, Jeff, that was me, Gabe.
Okay, so again, documents that are shared with the council that are related to agenda items, whether we're talking about making a decision on that information or just discussing it, they are supposed to be at least one hard copy in the meeting room for the public's review. And that is something that was shared with us. It's no different than any emails, such as the emails we received from Mr. Bevins asking Mr. Kramvik. They are in the meeting room, or they are supposed to be. It's the same thing. We base our decision on the information. I'm sorry, Joe, but you're incorrect. Anyway, what I saw there in that resignation letter were several elements of truth. Whether we like them or not, I'm not afraid to hide from the truth. That's why I contacted Mr. Evans to see if he'd be willing to maintain his employment if we were to reject his resignation letter here tonight. There was zero discussion on that in PNF, and they moved forward with, as you'll see here. So I'll be voting no on the resignation letter. I don't need to say any more because I think I know how things are going to go regardless of what I say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Erickson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, did not interpret the resignation letter to refer to unsafe work environment. It was certainly a strongly worded letter. But I was on the Brainerd Public Utilities when Mr. Evans was hired. I had the opportunity to interview him, had the opportunity to interview all of the candidates. He was my top choice. I thought then that he was the right man for the job, and I do as well today. So I'm going to vote no as well.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, I never said that the resignation letter said that it was an unsafe work environment. I said if any of our employees are feeling that way, it is addressed in the employee's policy manual. What Christopher Evans said, it was a hostile work environment. But I absolutely agree with Jeff that if something is shared with all 8 council members, I don't care, no offense, Joe, I don't care what the bare legal minimum is. If all 8 council members receive a non-confidential document, it is a public document, it should be in the packet, it should be available in the council room. I absolutely agree with Jeff 100%. If we need to get that on a future agenda to direct staff to try to meet more than the absolute bare legal minimum, I think we should do that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Chesak?
Is the document going to put in the packet that's online?
Is that something we can do, staff?
If council directs that, we can do that.
Okay. Would you like to amend your motion?
We have a motion on the floor.
The motion is just to accept it. Let's just go with that.
Okay.
We can make a second one if somebody wants.
Yep, okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Tony, can you please call the roll?
Bevins?
Yes.
Chesak?
No.
Johnson?
Yep.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
No.
O'Day?
Yes. That motion passes 5-2.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that we include the resignation letter from Chris Evans dated March 4th, I believe, and include that in the packet that's currently online.
Second.
Motion by Chesak, second by Erickson. Any more discussion on that? Seeing none?
Mr. O'Day.
Okay. Mr.
Like I
Chesak?
said, I see elements of truth in there, and I am not afraid to hide from the truth. And if you are unwilling to accept that, then I think some of us may be in the wrong position up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Any more discussion? Mr. Mayor?
I support the inclusion of the document, and I don't believe the city has anything to hide from this document at all. It's not some magical document that has words in it that are going to hurt anyone's feelings, so.
No, I agree. I don't think there's any secretive nature or anything of the document. It might have been a mistake that it wasn't put in there, but now we're going to correct that, so. Anyone? Anyone else? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. And we're looking for, second part of this, we're looking for approval of the appointment of an interim public utilities director. So back to Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The motion out of committee is to direct staff to find an interim public utilities director, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Mr. Johnson.
So we don't necessarily need, we felt down in committee, we don't necessarily need an interim utility director today. All of the division managers can report to Nick Broyles, but we do feel that there are a lot of issues, not issues, a lot of outstanding, undecided things as far as integration and whatnot, that this council needs to decide before we go out and hire a full-time interim, or a full-time director. And so we're looking for an interim director for hopefully for a year or more, so we can address all of the outstanding issues related to integration of finance and public works and whatnot.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any more discussion? Mr. Chezak.
Yeah, I'll be voting no on this because we currently have a person that's fully ready and able to do the job. He's got years and years of quality experience, and he's got respect at the utility. Excuse me?
I was just asking Mr. Chair, the PNF Chair, if any, there's no limitations on who can apply, Jeff.
Okay. It's hard to have a thought that I'm expressing when I hear talking. So I mean,
My
that's
apologies.
what we say, having the floor, I believe. Oh, thank you. So no, we have somebody that can do the job, is a professional. And if we think about what's going on, I think somehow a resignation of an individual may prompt us to do things we may not have otherwise done. And I think we're just kicking the can down the road here when we could have the person maintain their position right now and do a fine job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chezak. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chezak?
No?
Johnson?
Yep.
Stunek?
Yep.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're back up to the top of our agenda of the discuss proposed change to special assessment policy. And the motion out of committee is to approve the special assessment policy as presented with the one change of adding language that when somebody splits a large parcel into a small parcel to be developed, they only pay the assessment on the small parcel until they've parceled out 50% of the large parcel, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, so I think you all read the packet. This is kind of, we didn't have language for undeveloped deferred land like we have up in Beaver Dam Road and whatnot. So we've created a whole new section that has that, and instead of, if somebody has 40 acres and sells off 2.5 to be developed, we're not gonna make them pay the assessment on all 40. They'll only have to pay on the 2.5 acres until it's half developed, or anytime that property is transferred via sale, that 100% of the deferred assessment shall be paid.
Excellent. Mr. Bevins?
And thank you, Mr. Chair. And the one thing that's missing from this that staff is still working on is those times when there is developed property within the city of Brainerd that's not in the city of Brainerd, like on the Beaver Dam property where we skipped property. That's not part of this. Staff is still working on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next up is the review, the municipal cannabis dispensary proposals. We received 2, of which are obsolete right now because we missed the deadline for the license, but you may want to review them. They were 2 and quite different. One was a fixed fee for management services where we get all of the profits. One was a profit sharing, but that's questionable legally. So, well, we'll see how things shake out in the future and maybe try it after Stunik's gone.
Hey.
No motion?
No motion.
Continue on.
Next up is item 3, the insurance renewal. And the motion is to approve the insurance renewal from LMCIT for a period of March 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026. And I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. More discussion? Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, we budgeted a 7.43% increase back in December, and it came in here in March at a 7.82. So Connie was right on there, only off by like $40,000 for our annual insurance. That's not bad.
Excellent. Donnie? All right, any more discussion?
Just a clarification, 40,000 is less than 0.5%?
I'm sorry, it might have been like it was 0.4%. It was just a few $1,000s. Connie could get the
Oh,
exact number.
thank
from me.
you.
Yeah, I misspoke, Jeff.
Got a little nervous there.
All right. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Johnson?
Thank you. Next up is a change to our grant policy. And the motion out of committee is to amend the grant policy to state under 3 policy statement, the City of Brainerd staff shall obtain explicit approval from the city administrator and chair of personnel and finance prior to submitting any grant application that falls under one or more of the following categories, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson?
Thank you. So this was the request from the wastewater treatment board that they have some time-sensitive things they want to apply for. This changes it that it doesn't necessarily have to come to the next city council meeting. If they talk with the city administrator, he feels it's a good grant that we should go out for. He calls the chair of the Personnel and Finance Committee. And then if that person agrees to, then it can just happen without having to go to the council. The council will be updated. Oh, and furthermore, as part of my motion, is this will be reviewed in 6 months.
Thank you. Mayor Bedell?
Yeah, just super fast, does this mean that, so let's say the park board and or BPU, are they being involved in this discussion at all? Or is it just circumvent those boards?
Wastewater treatment.
Is it just for wastewater? I'm sorry.
Just having to do with
No,
wastewater.
it says.
This is
IE.
everybody. This is amending the entire grant policy.
I see, yeah.
So it's every board, commission, department.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Chezak?
this actually began like 20 years ago. There was a grant made to get money for the Mississippi River Corridor Study. And there were some questions in that application, and one of them was, which I still look back at, the question was, is there any public opposition to this grant? And the answer was no, but nobody knew about it. Nobody in the public knew about it until after we were awarded a $1 million grant from the federal government with a 20% local match that also said, do you have any local support outside of your, and there was a question was answered yes, when there never was any local support. So this whole policy, I'll say that I was instrumental in getting this policy going 20 years ago. So not that I see it being perfect by us looking at it now, but I'm glad we're doing this change. I'll be voting in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chezak. Any more discussion? I'll say I'm a little hesitant just because it's more broad than what the ask originally was. I like that we're gonna look at it in another 6 months. I think it's fine to try it out. But the ask was basically for the big wastewater treatment project that we have coming up. I thought we would keep it to that, but I guess if we're gonna try this for 6 months, see how it goes, I'm comfortable with it. Mr. Mayor?
Sorry to speak again, but my only hesitation on it is that I just don't want boards that are in charge of specific things, i.e. BPU and or the Parks Department, to all of a sudden be handed a grant for something that they were not aware that they were even asking for. So the people that are in charge of the actual park land should probably at least be informed. But as long as if we put it in the policy, that they're at least informed that this is happening before the request comes. I would hope that that would be the case, but it doesn't specifically say that.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to address your concern, Mr. President, but I forgot what it was now because of the mayor's. It was what?
Just how broad it is.
Oh, and we'll address that in 6 months. But the park board will still be reviewing any grant applications for the park system. This isn't changing the policy to say that the city administrator and chair of personal finance are going to go seek out grant funding. We are going to approve any grant requests instead of the council approving it for the next 6 months to see how that goes.
Basically to speed it up so we don't have to wait 2 weeks
Yeah.
to another
And,
meeting.
oh, yeah, yours was, it's broader than you wanted. I want to treat all of our departments exactly the same. I don't think we should, oh, this department's looking for something let's let this department do one thing, everybody else do another thing. So we're making it broad now, see how that works. Maybe tighten it in 6 months, but I want to keep treating all of our departments the exact same.
So we have an agenda request for the first meeting in
October.
Noted. All right. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Next up is Mitch Lackhelt. And the motion out of committee is approve the voluntary demotion of Mitch Lackhelt to journeyman line worker position effective April 8th, 2025. Further, that he be placed on step 6 of the journeyman line worker position, and to authorize staff to backfill the electric distribution supervisor position internally, and if no qualified candidates apply, proceed with an external posting, and I so move.
Second.
Oh, motion by Johnson, second by Chesak.
So we received 12 applicants for the journeyman line worker position. We received 68 applicants for the apprentice line worker position. This one's the journeyman. But Mitch applied to go back to journeyman. He found that the supervisor, the electric distribution supervisor, wasn't the perfect fit for him, so he wanted to go back to be a journeyman. After reviewing all 12 applicants, he was the most qualified person, and he requested step 6, which is what he was on before we promoted him anyway. So we approved that in committee.
And we get to keep Mitch.
Yeah.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. Chairman Johnson?
Thank you. Next up is a Public Utilities Department full-time laborer position, and the motion is to authorize staff to begin the hiring process for a full-time laborer position for the Public Utilities Department, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, we did have budgeted a facilities custodian position. The Public Utilities Department has asked that we instead hire a laborer instead of the facilities custodian. The laborer comes in at slightly less cost, so they will remain within their budget.
Thank you. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. This is for an extension of an MOU, and the motion is to approve the MOU between the City of Brainerd, U.S. Steelworkers, Local Number 9230, Unit 09 Union, and IBEW, Local Number 31 Union, representing public utility employees, that allows IBEW public utilities employees to assist in the hydro dam facility as needed till May 1st, 2025, and further to authorize the signature of the city administrator on said MOU, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second. Quick second by Stunek. More discussion, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, so our last MOU expired on April 1st, so we've extended it a month. The steelworkers have agreed to that. We have union negotiations with them coming up, and we can figure out a long-term fix on how to operate the hydro facility.
Thank you. More discussion? Seeing none, go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Next up is obtain a pricing quotes for private Minnesota paid family medical insurance options. And the motion is to authorize staff Integrity Benefits to conduct a request for proposal to obtain plan design proposals and pricing quotes for private Minnesota PFML options, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
This is the family leave law that's going into effect January 1st, 2026. We are the 13th state to adopt this law, so there are private insurers that offer pretty good rates in other states, and they may be able to beat what Minnesota is saying now is a 0.88%, which is significantly higher than what they were saying a year ago, and they still don't even know what it'll be. So we're gonna go up for proposal and see if the private market can give us a better rate than what the public can. And if they can't, we can still stick with the
You
public.
don't know until you know.
Yep.
All right. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Chairman Johnson?
End of report.
Second.
Right. Thank you, PNF. Moving on to number 8, unfinished business. 8A is a call for applicants. Mayor Bordeaux.
Absolutely. We'll just keep this party rolling. The following applications are available on our website. You're going to want to get those in because we're going to try and fill some slots next meeting here at the City Council. The Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2025, 2 terms expiring 2026. Housing Redevelopment Authority, 1 term expiring 2027. Library, 1 term expiring 2027. Public Utilities Commission, 1 term expiring 2028. The Transportation Advisory Committee, 2 terms expiring 2025, 1 term expiring 2026.
As council president, I have 2 terms open for the Water Tower Committee. Hurry up and get those applications in. 8B, we have a public hearing on the submission of Small Cities Development Program grant application and to the Department of Employment and Economic Development for the streetscape along Washington Street. And today's presenter for this, we have John Schomer from the HRA. Come on up, John.
Thank you, President O'Day, members of the council. As you probably remember from last meeting you had, there were some policies that were required to be passed in order to apply on behalf of the city of Brainerd for up to $580,000 to be applied towards the Washington Street reconstruction project. The dollars we're specifically asking for is for streetscape. It would go to help alleviate some of the costs to the city for the lighting. The goal to this is just to allow citizens to provide input on the project itself, which would be just over $2 million for the streetscape portion, which includes some plantings and the lighting. And they're anticipating, I think, start around August with completion of the project in 2027. So with that, I guess if there's any questions of me.
Thank you, John. Anybody on the council have questions for John before we open the public hearing? Looks like not. Thanks, John. So with that, we will open the public hearing at 8:32. So if anybody's here to address the council on this grant, please step forward. And if you're online, if you want to address the council on this item, please press *3. Ask again. If there's anybody in here that wants to step forward and address the council on this, please do so now. We will close the public hearing at 8:33.
Mr. President?
Mr. Chesak.
I did have one question for John, if I could so ask it now. I just thought of it.
Okay. John, do you mind?
You okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so on the amenities we plan for this, the streetscape, will it pay for everything? And is it the prevailing wage used on this too because of the grant money?
Yes, prevailing wage would be required, which would be required because it's a state project anyway. And these funds will only help alleviate some of the cost to it. It will nowhere cover the cost.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is that an answer? Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I'd move to approve.
All right, do we have a,
Resolution.
I think it's just the public hearing.
yeah, just the public hearing. We've already approved the application, so
That's
that's
easy.
all we had to do tonight for that one. Moving on to 8C. We have approval of the title transfer from Crow Wing County tax forfeit property. I believe this is Community Development Director James Kramvik. Go ahead, James.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Council considered the land transfer at the February 18th meeting. This is the land that's next to Evergreen Landing Cemetery, and the landing into Mississippi River, and preliminary approved acceptance of the property. At a subsequent meeting, the county board approved the sale of the parcel to the city. The cost is $1 for the land, $46 recording fee, a $1.65 deed tax, and a $25 state deed fee for $73.65 total. Staff do not recommend title insurance based on the fact that this property has been tax forfeit for several years, is being purchased for $1, and no public improvements will be constructed. Again, about 96% of the property is either floodplain or flood fringe. So with that, staff recommends approval of the land transfer of PID 412-30522 for $1 plus recording fees. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anybody have questions?
My question's for Chief. This is like your last opportunity. Are you sure you want us to take over this land?
I have no concerns about it.
It's like 3 cents an acre.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty good. It's a pretty good deal.
Sometimes the best comment is none.
Any more questions of staff? All right. If not, we're looking for a motion to approve the land transfer of PID 412-30522 for $1 plus recording fees.
So move.
Second.
I don't know. Let's give it to Yeager. He hasn't made a motion yet tonight.
There we go. Welcome.
Second by Chezak. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. That motion passes. We on to 8D. This is a resolution to accept offers for temporary easements for the Trunk Highway 210 reconstruction project. And this one is Public Works Director Mike Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. Attached to this item is a resolution that certifies the acceptance of the MDOT for temporary construction easements on the 210 Washington Street reconstruction project. The easements lie on 3 different separate city-owned parcels throughout the corridor. The description of the parcels and easements are included in the attachment. The offers for the easements are as follows: $2,600, $500, and $4,400 for a total of $7,500 for the 3 parcels. Again, this is just a temporary construction easement, and staff is recommending adoption of this and accepting these offers from MDOT. And at that, take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. Does anybody have questions? Mr. Johnson?
A question of the finance director. Where does the $7,500 go?
Park board.
It would be part of the project.
It would just go into the project. It would go as part of our cost of the project.
Right.
We'd use the money for that. Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you. Any more questions? Mr. Erickson?
I probably don't have to do this, but I'm a MnDOT employee, so I'll abstain.
Okay.
You probably should.
So far, we're pretty good on land deals. 32 acres for like $1, and probably just like an acre, we're getting $7,500.
I'd buy that.
Temporarily.
Good. We're on a roll here. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against? Same sign.
And there's no,
Combo breaker.
and there's no motion.
Mark the time, folks. 8:38. 8:38 on the clock, folks.
Go ahead, Tony. There was no motion?
I'd move approval.
Second. Well, you're off the hook.
Exactly. It wasn't me this time. All right, we have a motion by Johnson, second by Chezak. Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chezak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson? O'Day?
Yes, that motion passes. Moving on to 8E, and this is an update on the airport. I believe this is City Administrator Broyles.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council asked staff to coordinate with Crow Wing County and the airport director to provide a letter of recommendation regarding airport functions around HR, finance, legal, technology, and facilities. City staff, the Crow Wing County administrator, and the airport director have provided comment in the attached letter. General recommendation is to consolidate all the disparate governing documents into one mutual agreement to be agreed upon and signed by the City Council, the County Commission, and the Airport Commission. Recommended motion is to direct staff to work with our attorney and the county attorney to prepare a document outlining roles and responsibilities across all functional areas of the Brainerd Lakes Regional Airport. I'm happy to answer any questions. We went into each section, so there'll be a write-up in each section for technology, facilities, HR, finance, and legal. We just add some things, other considerations. We talked about public works, had a little bit in there, potential annexation, advantages and disadvantages. Airport authority with a question mark, just to explore that option. We also had a section there for airport director comments, so those are Steve's comments, unedited. And then there's also comments in section 8 for the Crow Wing County Administrator, and those are Debbie Erickson's comments, unedited, and then just closing thoughts. So I'd be happy to, and staff may assist me because there's lots of different information in here, but if you have any questions, we'll be happy to entertain those.
Thank you, Mr. Broyles. Does anybody have questions?
I have a
Jezza?
question or two. When you, we had the administrator from Crow Wing County, well, this will go to a vote, no, I mean, eventually if we were to have it come back with the, and what was it called, the review of the ordinance and come back with a, what is it called again? For everybody to agree to? What's the document?
I guess I phrased it as a consolidated document that kind of organizes all the different documents into one, and then that document would obviously have to be approved by the county board and the city council.
Okay, and then the airport commission, you said as
Yes,
well?
and the airport commission.
So technically, the airport commission could could hold up the approval of this? Is that what I'm hearing? If they didn't agree to it?
If I might, oh, sorry, Mr. Chair, if I might, in my opinion, if I might add, it would be my thought that the airport commission would look at this first and then send it along, but maybe that's not the right process there, so.
Okay, that, I don't have my preference, I was just asking the question. And then, as I read through here, maybe I missed it, but it seems like the recommendations in here are more geared towards the city picking up more responsibilities, and I don't see much in the way of the county taking on anything, really, unless I missed it. Is there anything in here that the county's going to, at least preliminarily here, say, we'll take on more of the, whether it be HR, finance, or anything like that? And that's kind of my question right now. I didn't see anything specific to the county contributing more in the regards to the staffing that we're providing.
Mr. Broyles?
I think functionally, I agree. I don't think there was much in there for the county taking on things. I think where that could potentially be accounted for in a finished document is dollars and cents. Is there any money changing hands between the county and the city, et cetera? So ultimately, we would want this to be fair to both the county and the city. So it could be services, or it could be payment in lieu of services. I mean, anything's on the table. It's just a matter of what we can come up with that everybody can agree to.
And one other question, with the current ordinance, is this going to work its way into a new version of the ordinance, do you foresee? Or is it something that's separate, or?
Well, as a layperson, I guess Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that we would try to integrate these into a legal document, a binding legal document that could be presented to both bodies for signature, all three bodies, pardon me.
Would that be what you would see too, Mr. Lane?
And Mr. O'Day, I'll just add to that. Sorry. And yes, thank you, Mr. O'Day. And I'll also add to that also both myself and Mr. Barrows have been having a very similar discussion in that it seems as though it's almost a certainty that the ordinance rewrite is a critical function of all of this process. And if it's okay with the council here, I was going to do my airport report at the commissioner comments, but perhaps this is a better time. So I'll just ask Mr. O'Day if that might be okay. I'll just rip through it here real quick. Okay, so quickly, there's a lot to kind of go through, but I'm just going to zip right through it. First of all, our airport metrics for last month, really the low-hanging fruit here is we saw 4.6% growth at the airport over our 2024 numbers. However, we are still 40% down from pre-COVID numbers, so good and bad there. Last month, we approved a $1.3 million security fence project, local match on that, roughly $35,000. That will be coming out of our CapEx. The letter, as Mr. Broyles already spoke to, that was a part of my report here. We have also just, the Airport Commission has just received its 2024 through 2030 proposed budget. We haven't had any dialogue on that, but that is coming up for our meeting on Thursday. Lots and lots of questions in there. A lot of information needs to be absorbed, especially regarding the budget as it and its relationship to the CIP that we have out there. There seems to be a little bit of a disconnect out there that needs to be cleaned up. Commission has asked for staff to help us with the CIP, as aviation CIP does not work like normal CIPs from a calendar month to calendar month. Also, very exciting, I did reach out to Bill, a very nice gentleman who is the director of St. Cloud Airport. I had about a 30-minute discussion with him regarding the entire process, as he was on the ground floor of St. Cloud, transforming from a regional airport owned by by the city into the airport authority, where they took on some other counties. He gave a lot of great information and guidance on that. One of the great parts that came out of that conversation is he put me in touch with a company called Stephen Baldwin and Associates. They are based out of New York City. What this entity does for a living is they look at airports, they look at their finances, they look at their hangars, they look at their money, they look at their staff, and they review all of this information. They also look at the surrounding counties as well as the ownership. They look at the burdens as far as the certificated airports as well as the obligated airports, which we are. And they craft if we hire them, they craft a proposal that will propose to an airport of how to, good housekeeping, best practices based upon what they see, as well as how they might potentially present an airport authority moving forward in the future. So it was a very exciting conversation. I'm very energized about the possible outcome out there of that, and I have asked this person to join our May meeting and give about 15-minute summary of what their business does, how they might be able to look, or how they might be able to help us as well as the city and the county, and potentially that airport authority conversation moving forward. So there's some positive energy, it seems like, that might be going that direction. And as just a quick follow-up, as you remember, a couple months ago, we did lose our deputy director. We received 6 applications. We believe that there are several great applicants in there for the deputy director. However, it is not a certainty that this Airport Commission wants to hire this deputy director, and that will be coming up on our Thursday meeting as well, as to whether or not that is a good fit, if it's the right buy right now. And the basic tenor is that there's a lot of balls up in the air at the airport right now, money-wise, performance-wise, and otherwise, that the Airport Commission certainly has their hands full and is digging into. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Great. So, yeah, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, I really appreciate the update. I'm glad to hear things are going well over there. I want to go back to this document that we're being asked to approve. And it's basically staff coming back to us and asking us the exact same thing they've asked us before, and we already said no, but they're just going to, I guess, ask the exact same question again and see if they can get a yes this time. It's like, look at their overall recommendations. Consider technology integration, review revised technology support agreement, incorporate finance, technology, and HR services into one master agreement. I thought when we had this discussion before, and it was kind of, do we take on more of a responsibility from the city's perspective or less of a responsibility? I thought the council was always on the side of, let's take on less, let's make the county do more work. This is putting more on the city. Number 2, consider annexation of the airport property. That sounds like it's putting more on the city. 3, classify airport employees as city employees subject to the city's personnel policies. That's, no, we don't want more. We don't want another bargaining unit. I don't. I'm speaking for myself. I don't want another bargaining unit. Clearly identify HR support requirements in the master agreement. We shouldn't have any. They should have their own HR. They're an airport. 5, update the BLRA employee policy manual stating the airport employees shall follow the City of Brainerd's technology policy. No, if we can't provide IT out there, then let's just not. We don't need to bring them into the city. We tried it for a year or 2. If it's not working, it doesn't mean we dive in deeper. It means we say, hey, we tried and that didn't work. 6, incorporate airport costs to obtain city services into their operational budgets so we can levy those dollars. So we're going to see how much it costs us to have the city do all of the work so we can levy half of that. when we're already levying general fund dollars to pay for all of our employees to exist? That doesn't even make sense to me. And then the last one, in short, a master services agreement identifying roles, responsibilities, and financials of all stakeholders. That makes sense. But if the first 6 things are put more responsibility on the city and less on the county, I don't know if that master services agreement is going to be very agreeable to me, identifying the roles, responsibilities, and financials of all the stakeholders. So I don't support these overall recommendations, pretty much none of them. And that's just my opinion on this document.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for bringing those concerns up now and not bringing them up next time this comes back. So maybe we can have a better list of recommendations and changes. And thank you, Mr. Yeager, for that update. Very informative. Looking forward to seeing what happens with the airport, but we are looking for a motion.
President O'Day.
Mr. Chesak.
I would echo virtually everything Mr. Johnson said. I read through there, and that's kind of where I was getting at with the county not having literally anything additional. And he summed it up very good for me, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we are looking for a motion to direct staff to work with our attorney and the county attorney to prepare a document outlining roles and responsibilities across all functional areas of the Brainerd Regional Airport. And it doesn't have to be this exact document that you see. That's a draft. Obviously, it's a working document. Is it something we want to go forward with? Looking for that motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm not prepared to make a motion, but I do have potentially a suggestion. The Airport Commission has not seen this document yet, right? So I'm just wondering if, because I have a lot of these same concerns that I would be bringing forward to the Airport Commission to our earlier dialogue, which is we would go through all this work, potentially the Airport Commission could have some last, Monday quarterbacking thoughts on this after it's already out there. I'd like to ask the permission to bring this document in its rough form right to our Airport Commission right now and express my concerns and the concerns of Mr. Chesak and Mr. Johnson right off the bat, and just see how it lands on the Airport Commission also, as they're obviously a willing, maybe not willing, but a participant in this entire process.
Yeah.
Mr. O'Day.
Mr. Chesak.
I would make a motion that we just allow Mr. Yeager to look this over first, bring it to the Airport Commission, which they have their first meeting on Thursday.
Yes, it wouldn't make the packet for this month. I could certainly introduce it, but it would not make the packet, sir.
And then, okay, so in that case, he could introduce it, they could go over it more thoroughly in the May meeting perhaps, and then come back with it at our perhaps second meeting in May.
Yes.
Would that sound like an item motion for you?
I'd second. Was that a motion? I'll second.
By Chesak. By Chesak, second by Yeager. Any more discussion on that? Either way, the language needs to be cleared up between the city and the county, Airport Commission. Whatever that ends up being in the end, it's not going to be this exact document, maybe something similar, but keep moving forward on it. I think this is a good motion.
Speaking in favor of the motion, if I may?
Go ahead, Mr. Chesak.
In referencing what Mr. Johnson pointed out, my same concerns, I might be able to accept most of what's in there, if not all of it, if we got some sort of indication from Crow Wing County that they would essentially take over, administer the entire levy for the airport operation prior to any discussion of a airport authority. I mean, that's not part of my motion, of course. That's just something I've been thinking about. We discussed it at nauseum the last year and a half, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak.
And if I might add to that, exactly to your point, all of this only makes sense if the money makes sense also. So it may very well make sense for the city to take some of this if the compensation or the balance between the city and the county is correctly balanced. So I think the two kind of have to work together. The obligations of both city and county, as well as the financial support of both city and county working together to find the right balance for both parties. We're 50-50 owners in the airport. We share the bills out there, basically 50-50, or we're supposed to. And like it or not, the city of Brainerd and Crow Wing County are 50-50 partners in moving forward with this airport out there and supporting it. So that's all. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against? Same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to 8F, we have a discussion on council priorities to staff. This is was a motion in the last meeting by Mr. Chesak. but listed presenters are myself and Nick Broyles. Mr. Broyles, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, so I was traveling 3 weeks ago, so I wasn't here for that meeting. I think what came out of that, I watched the meeting, and I think council wanted to have an opportunity to formally identify priorities to staff, which I welcome. I think that's a great idea. So I don't know where this conversation is going to go, and I don't know if I'm the one to lead it, but whatever priorities council has for staff would be very helpful for us as we divide up our resources and figure out where to emphasize our efforts. So with
Okay.
that, I would just open it up to council.
I'll take that first. We have a email, I think it's in the packet here, I believe. And there are a list of different things listed under each of our names from that meeting, anyone who was there. And then a summary at the end for Mr. Broyles about what he got out of the meeting. Maybe some of them are great for this, maybe some of them aren't, but we could spend a lot of time going over this stuff. I would ask that we point out things that we really want on there or we really don't want on there. I don't want to get into a long debate. I think where I go with this one, we talked about having a workshop. I don't think it's set up for a week from today. I think if we end up doing a workshop, this would be a perfect item for that workshop, and we could probably hammer this out in 20, 30 minutes if we really wanted to. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't want to point out anything specifically, but if anybody wants to or has a motion to throw out there, I'm open to it. Mr. Chesak, I assume you want to
President O'Day, yes. I'm having a little trouble pulling this up here. Well, there's two things I would like to address specifically, and we've been kicking this whole, well, the integration of finance, that was a interim, I should say, integration work group met, and we were, I guess, considering a workshop on that, and I would, and again, it's mentioned here in item number 8, I still having trouble pulling this up, but it talked about facilities, if I'm not mistaken, I'm kind of running off of memory here, work on facility integration along with what is it? I apologize, I can't pull
Are you
this
talking
up.
about number 8 on Mr. Broyles?
Yeah,
So it says,
staff
consider
prayer.
infrastructure integration and deputy city administrator concurrently consider charter implications, not an easy effort.
Yes, okay.
Begin to socialize this with the charter commission.
Okay, so what I would like to do is, I think I'll have 2 separate motions here to kind of get this direction either for or against, and this directly with the city charter. By council action, we could amend the charter with a unanimous vote, and I would, I'm not in favor of that myself, but I would move that, to give clear staff direction that we cease and desist all utility services being amended in a charter change, and that would, the change, I think, is being implied to be directed to the Public Works Department, which I would move that we cease and desist all direction or interest by anybody's staff or anyone else moving any services under public utilities to the Public Works Department, and that's my motion.
Second.
Motion by Chesak, second by Johnson. Discussion on that?
Jeff, speak to it a bit.
Jeff, do you want to speak to your motion?
Yeah, there's been a lot of concern, confusion, many other things related to this. Uncertainty, I think, is the key word about what's really going on. When is this expected to happen? If it does, we need to either move forward with this with a unanimous vote to have utilities go to Public Works or not. And that's why I have my motion here to give clear direction to staff on how we want to proceed with this at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Bevins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to vote against this motion. I just don't have enough information to be able to make the yes, no right now. There's a lot of things I've heard that really make a lot of sense with continuing various potential integrations. But with this motion, we no longer have any staff support to be able to discuss it. It's workshops, et cetera. Plus, I saw something regarding some presentation from our finance department and the guy over at PUC, Danny. But I wouldn't be able, we wouldn't be able to answer any questions or anything. To cease and desist all conversation, to me, seems a little extreme at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bevins. Anyone else? Mr. Johnson?
I'm going to support the motion. I think council could put it back on, could act on having that discussion any given time. And cease and desist now and decide in 2 months, remember we were talking about that? Maybe we want to do that again. But as of right now, I mean, like, I haven't heard any information either, but we've been talking about it for a year and I still haven't seen anything. With information technology, I got nothing but the IT opinions. With finance, there's been no business plans or anything put forth, so it's a lot of just flying blind here, where I'm going to support the motion, because maybe just taking a break on this and focusing on something that we actually we know we want to get done, it could be a good thing.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Johnson's comments, just because whatever the most recent motion is by council, we can open this back up if the council decides on a 4-3 vote, any meeting in the future. I feel like I've learned a lot. I sat in on the integration group just a couple weeks ago, and I learned a lot from that meeting, just on the financial part. I think we had more to learn on the public works and utilities integration, but what I'm feeling like I'm learning is, one, it's expensive on a lot of these things. Maybe not so much the public works integration, but the financial part is. And I do feel like that is a good idea in the future when we're ready to update our software. But both those software systems at City Hall and BPU have just been updated within the last few years. And it doesn't make sense until we get down the road to a point where one of them becomes obsolete, and then we combine into one. And I think it is fair to give staff clear direction on something like this. So the other thing is charter changes. All it takes is one council member to disagree with something on there, and then we did a ton of work for months and months for no reason. So if that's going to be the case, and we know that's going to be the case, then we might as well just close it down for now, revisit it again when it makes sense. So thank you for those
Ask a roll
comments.
call vote, Mr. President.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing no more discussion, Tony, can you please call the roll?
Bevins?
No.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
I have another motion, Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr. Chazak.
On the integration of finance, I would move that we do not conduct a workshop, I think is what we came out of the integration work group meeting talking about. And we also don't move forward with integration of finance. And that's my motion.
Second.
Motion by Chazak, second by Erickson. Anybody want to speak on the motion? Mr. Bevins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Didn't our last motion cover this? It was any and all.
I think part of it.
I
Part
think it was any and all, so
But part of this motion is not having the workshop that we semi-scheduled at that integration.
we couldn't have one anyway because we just voted.
No, mine was for utilities, Mr. Bevins.
Yeah,
Only
well-
utilities.
Public Works.
Yeah, he specified the public works part, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Clear?
No.
Okay.
Well-
Mr. Johnson?
Just a question, so if we don't do the workshop and obviously not move forward on finance integration, we did have staff put together a lot of time, and was that presentation just never going to see the light of day? Is that the intention here?
Well, we were provided with the document that the integration work group was provided with the presentation that was sent out via email. So
Yeah.
I guess if you want to call that the light of day, I mean, I left there, I think I was a little remiss for not suggesting we didn't need a workshop, but I've also since had more time to think about it, and I would just like to kind of keep things, you saw staff's recommendation in the presentation, and I hear all the time we have excellent staff, and I would not disagree with that. Sometimes I think we need to listen to our department heads and take their advice.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Johnson, you still have the
Nope,
floor?
that answered my question.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor?
Yep.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, go to a vote. Roll call.
Bevins?
No.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that motion passes.
I have another motion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chesak.
Yes, I would like to say, I would like to motion to not approve the hiring of a deputy administrator, whether now or anywhere in the next, well, I'll just say, I don't like to, let me think about this. No deputy administrator hiring position for at least the next 18 months.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Chesak,
Second.
second by Johnson. Discussion?
Question. So, I mean, effectively, the motion, Jeff, is to just modify the 2026 budget before we put it together, just to make sure we don't have that position included for 2026.
Yes, and I'm asking this so we can give direction again. We saw what happened here was after the workshop, it appears that there was very few council members approved a deputy administrator position, and yet it moves forward with a staff priority to look at that as being a priority. So that's why I want to give clear direction in this motion.
Thank you. More questions? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. Tony, please call the roll again.
Bevins?
No.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. That motion passes. All right, I would like to get the council's appetite for clearing up some of the rest of this as far as we owe it to our staff to give them clear direction. We're not all gonna agree on everything. But is there an appetite for us to sit down? The idea that Mr. Broyles and I talked about in his office last week would be a meeting with the council, just meeting as council, staff in attendance, but not in participating form, where the council just has almost a roundtable discussion on what are our priorities. And we can have it in the form of a meeting where we actually vote and give clear motion for the intent, or more of a whiteboard discussion. That's up to you guys, but if that's something that you guys are interested in, I think it would be a productive way to lead our staff in the direction that we want them to go. And I think that would be fair for our staff.
Game.
You'd be for it?
Yep. I'd move to hold a workshop on a date that works for the president.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Motion by Johnson, second by Chesak. Mr. Mayor.
I have seen Kevin Yeager work wonders with a whiteboard, so
Watch out.
I'm just gonna tell you,
Watch out.
you're gonna wanna be on your toes.
Will I have to wear my glasses for that?
Yes, you will.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, can you bring your own whiteboard?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
And I will also follow up with that discussion. Mr. Bedot and I have had several times, is the vision is the easy part. The vision is the easy part, but it seems to me that we need to clarify this list. We're all here to try to wrap our hands around what we should be doing and the vision moving forward. So let's get together, let's figure it out, give it back to staff, let's do it.
Excellent. So in setting that date,
Does the 28th work for the president of April?
is that a Monday?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Monday, the 28th at 6,
6:30?
6:30?
I'll add that to my motion.
All right.
Or I'll second that as
Yep.
part of the motion.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? That work for the rest of council? Seeing thumbs up.
This is a daytime meeting, nighttime? Okay, got it, understood, sorry. I was looking at my calendar, I missed something.
Yeah,
Okay.
All day and all night.
Yeah,
You didn't hear
I
Kevin
made the
Stewart's
motion.
groans.
Yeah, okay.
Motion? Yeah. All right, seeing no more discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
I,
Again, same sign. That motion passes. Sean, could you please scroll down just a bit on that? Right on that, yep, keep going. Mr. Broyles wants communication on, keep going. Is it on this list?
Yep.
Oh, sorry,
Right
sorry.
there. Nope, keep going.
Go down.
Yeah,
Let Nick tell you.
Lower on the document.
There we go.
There, right there. Thank you, Mr. President. So one of the things that the council had asked of me was to come up with some type of a suspense tracker where council can get some insight into what staff is working, what the current status is, et cetera. This is a product of, this is a Microsoft product under Task Manager. I have never used it. Tony and I, when I say that, I mean mostly Tony, has come up with this in Task Manager. Before we pull the trigger on this and we talk to all the department heads and make sure that they're updating this on a regular basis, I just want to get some feedback from the council and see if this is something that is what you're looking for. Essentially, the first column is, you know, the topic of what the issue is. The second column is what department is working at. The third column is the most recent notes. And then, you know, we can, you know, kind of the green, yellow, red. So we can come up with different ways to present this, because I want it to be kind of an executive level presentation. But I just want to get some feedback from the council before we invest in this fully and develop it, if this is something that, kind of like what you guys had in mind.
Is this in an actual spreadsheet, Nick?
It is not. It's basically, it looks like a Word document with 4 columns. It's an output of task is it task manager? Oh, okay, okay.
Mr. Yeager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we're absolutely on the right track here. My one comment here is in the status. I don't like just the stagnant in progress. That's a really easy we're still in progress. I'd like to see a percentage complete or some version of a slider bar that says, hey, we're still at 0 on this one. We think we're 20%. We think we're 40%. It's my belief that when you see that and you look at last month, it's an incentive to keep going. So that'd be my only thoughts, but we're absolutely on the right track here. And I do like the Excel with the colors, but that's all. Yeah,
He's a design guy.
I know.
Mr. Johnson?
Make me
I
get out the whiteboard.
absolutely think it should be in Excel. I don't think there's any questions about that, Tony. But I agree with Councilman Yeager on the status, something more than everything's just always in progress. I like under the notes that we had the last touch point, like we voted on it on December 1st. I would like to see something maybe of a next expected touch point, so it doesn't just disappear forever. But I think this is the type of spreadsheet that I was thinking of exactly. This looks really good. Let's just make sure it is indeed a spreadsheet, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
And I couldn't agree more with having colors.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. If there's no more discussion, we can move on. Next, we're on new business. 9, we've already covered A and B, so we're moving on to 9C. This is consideration of a conditional use permit for vehicle, trailer, and equipment sales at 1801 Mill Avenue. I believe this is James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mike Higgins has submitted a request at 1801 Mill Avenue for a conditional use permit to lease space to a third-party dealer for auto, trailer, and equipment sales. Outside service sales and rentals are required to provide screening from the right-of-way per code. The request does not include screening. Staff does not believe sales areas should be screened from view as you're looking to sell those items. So staff is recommending a code change. So with that, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the conditional use permit request as presented and further directed staff to remove the screening requirements in the zoning code for outside sales areas.
Thank you, James. Anybody have any questions for staff? We also have Mr. Higgins here.
I guess I do, Mike.
Mr. Johnson.
I have one question. If we removed like the screening requirements, and I don't know how the technical requirements of, but does that mean we're gonna be taking down pine trees off of Mill Avenue? No, it does not. Okay.
You're a big
Thank
tree
you.
advocate.
I am a tree appreciator.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Bevins?
Just a follow-up to Gabe Johnson's. Mr. Kramvik, is there any trees being removed?
The applicant has not indicated that. The applicant certainly is here.
I presume that would be part of it, so.
So conditions could be added for those trees to remain in place if the city council sees fit, but it was not part of the application that those trees would be removed.
I'm ready with the motion. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would ask that that be included in the,
CUP?
yeah, because once they're down, they're down.
Okay.
Second.
I didn't
The
make-
amendment.
Oh, there's no, oh,
I don't think we have a motion yet.
I just asked that it be included.
So recommended action motion is recommend approval of the conditional use permit request for 1801 Mill Avenue as presented, and direct staff to remove the screening requirement in the zoning code for outside sales areas. That's a two-part motion. Conditional, you could add in.
I would, whoever makes the motion, I'd like that added in.
Okay. No tree removal. Right, we have a motion by
I would move to what you just stated as a motion and then include the trees to remain.
Okay.
Unless taken out by storm or something, whatever, but that's obvious, so.
if you'd be willing to add, I'd like to just add that the trees not get limbed up any further also. So not only do the trees should stay, but they should also not be limbed up right to their tops.
one part sticking up from the top.
Yeah, I did a little looking on this just out of curiosity. At the deconstruction of this, it was actually an IUP so long ago that it was in microfiche. And there was a motion that the existing visual buffer shall be retained. So I was able to find that, and I think we're on the right track here. So
I'll include what
There we go.
Kevin is asking for in the uses.
Whatever that was. Okay.
Don't limb them up.
So we have a second? Mr.
Yeah,
Yeager?
I second.
Okay. Motion by Chazak, second by Yeager. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Against, same sign. Motion passes. And it is 9:16. All right, thanks for sitting with us, Mr. Higgins. Moving on to 9D.
He's here for mayor comments, or mayor comments.
It's coming up. Next, we have 9D, resolution approving plans and authorizing biddings for improvement 2113 Beach Oak Ridge Reconstruction Project. And this would be Public Works Director Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the fourth step that you have seen this project. We are now just ready to go out to bid on this, and it's going to be including curb and gutter, new sidewalk, replacement of main water, storm sewer and utilities, and also asphalt. And again, this is just going to be going out for a bid, and we're asking, and you'll see it one more time. Once we get those bids, you'll see it one final time before it goes to construction. At that, we can take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. Anybody have questions for staff? Looks like none. We're just looking for a motion to adopt the attached resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisements for bids for improvement 2113.
So,
Motion by Johnson, second by Erickson.
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chezak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution passes.
Is there a resolution on this?
Yeah, there was a resolution. We just did it.
Okay, I was in the wrong, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Next item is also a resolution. This is accepting bids to award the contract for improvement 2316 South Brainerd resurfacing project. Again, Public Works Director Habegorst.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for resurfacing of streets as listed in the attachment, and also curb replacement when needed, and also 10 fire hydrants, excuse me. And this is, we're just the final thing before we need to accept, you just accepting this bid for us to go to construction. With that, we can take any questions.
Excellent. Anybody have questions? Seeing no questions, we're looking for a motion. So move to adopt the resolution
Second, Erickson.
and award to Knife River. All right. Motion was by Chezak, second by Erickson. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Tony, please call the roll.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chezak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yep.
Erickson?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes. that resolution passes. 9F, we have a discussion allowing sidewalk performers in Brainerd. This one's exciting. Mr. Habegorst, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So we have a request from a resident to conduct sidewalk performances in Brainerd in the downtown area. Currently, we do not have an ordinance, nor do we have require a permit for any such performances until we do have an ordinance to guide staff for individuals for conducting performance in public property, and that they must also comply with city ordinances, state and federal law. Performances can bring another element to the downtown district, but we just need some guidelines and appropriate, just guiding staff for that type of activity to move forward. So staff is seeking guidance for developing an ordinance. One, the ordinance can allow or can prohibit such activity. So we want to make sure that you're aware of that. And also, if it's allowed, what type of permits should we indicate, and should it have a fee? Should there be restrictions on the material being used, such as carpets, a display, and any restrictions as the actual where it's located? Away from the building entrances, outdoor dining area, fire hydrants and crosswalks, etc. Also, we would need to take into consideration amplified sound, and also lastly, should it be a council approval or administrative approval? And at that time, we can take more questions, and we're just, again, looking for guidance.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. I have a question. So is this just having to do with people who are trying to collect donations when they're doing a sidewalk performance or a street performance? Is it that kind of thing? I mean, if somebody wants to walk down the sidewalk and sing a song really loud, nobody can really stop that. So I'm wondering are we trying to regulate this if it's just somebody who's sort of panhandling? Is that what we're getting at here?
That is one aspect of this, and the applicant did indicate, is it okay if I do have a tip jar? He also indicated that he would only want to be where he's welcomed, but again, the ordinance would steer us in that direction, and our attorney is here if you have any other, comments too. He could maybe shed some light on it.
Does anybody else have questions for staff? Mr. Chesak?
I can't remember, but do we currently have, perhaps in this packet or in general, an ordinance that prohibits people from blocking the sidewalk for pedestrian travel?
Yep.
Sure we do.
Is that in our packet? I don't remember.
I believe so, that there are restrictions within right-of-ways impeding traffic. I'd have to do some more research, and we can certainly get back to council on that.
I think it might be like near the restaurant section. This came up during expanding seating.
Okay. Is it just a question?
Yep, that's just a question.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none. Staff is looking for direction on this. Do we want staff to move forward with this, or is this something we?
I would move that we direct staff to move forward to coming back with draft ordinance language on this street performance or sidewalk. Was it sidewalk performance?
I think this is a good one for safety and public works. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we do a lot of this stuff for like parks and for streets. It feels like a street closure to me. So we have documents that are very similar to it. Use those as the basis for how we do it. That includes whether or not there's amplified sound or not. So we have those as a basis to use.
And we have a great amphitheater. Perfect fit.
Yeah.
For
places
rent.
to perform.
For rent.
Yeah.
Did I get a second?
Did you not get a second? I should have kept track of that. It's getting late.
I'll second.
We got a second by Johnson. So you have a motion by Chesak, second by Johnson. Any more discussion? Any more direction?
Just real quickly, somebody out there must have this ordinance. Somebody out there has to have this fleshed out. I'm not saying we got to create it from scratch. So
Right. We're not Las Vegas yet.
No.
But
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I
Bevins.
just personally would prefer there not to be a fee.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure this could be handled administratively. I'm just giving you my answer to a couple of these
don't chase.
questions.
I agree. Okay. Seeing no more discussion, let's go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Against? Same sign. No? Okay,
No, yeah, no.
same sign.
Yes, no. No, yes.
I'm not sure what he's saying, but I think he said no.
Welcome to our world.
That motion passes 6-1. Next, we have a discussion on retail cannabis registration. This one, James Kramvik and Connie Hillman.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'll start here. So originally, the Office of Cannabis Management was going to issue licenses in each category, giving priority to applicants who receive the highest score. If there were insufficient licenses available for entities that receive identical scores, the Office of Cannabis Management was going to utilize a lottery to randomly select licensed recipients from among those entities. This process was challenged, and based on staff research, we believe that it will now be up to local governments to create a process for selecting applicants, which could include a lottery, a first-come, first-served model, rolling approvals, or other options. Recommendation from staff is to work with the city attorney on drafting an amendment to the cannabis registration ordinance that states registrations are on a first-come, first-served basis, and then create a lottery if multiple businesses are eligible. With that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. So I want to kind of get this straight. So the state originally was using like programs with equity to select and score individuals trying to get a license. They've done away with that?
From my understanding, that has been challenged. Maybe the city attorney has found additional research, but what we're finding is that it is going to be up to local governments. If there's multiple applications that do qualify, it's going to be up to us to determine who gets those
Right.
registrations.
So the state now is just making sure that somebody meets certain requirements, whatever those are, we're not really sure right now. And then it's up to the city to pick from those people who gets that. But they also say we can't pick it in a certain way. We can't wait for, say, 6 or 7 applicants and pick the 2 best ones.
You do have to respond within a certain number of days. I do believe there's options for the city to potentially create its own point system. We'd have to do more research on that. But again, can that be challenged if the city creates its own point system geared towards a certain way? I am not sure on that part of it.
I feel like we should just create a standard. And if you meet the standard, you get the license. If you don't meet the standard, you don't get the license. Then it is a first come, first serve, yes or no. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know if anybody else has any sense to throw in. Mr.
Yeah, and because the licenses were cut off, I believe March 14th, we have 2 registrations available with the city of Brainerd. There could be 5 people that essentially apply for those 2 registrations, and the state says those licenses are all eligible. That would probably be released to us at the same time. So first come, first serve, will probably work potentially in the future, but because of this first round cutoff dates and multiple license eligibilities, I do believe for sure a lottery system would be needed initially, or some type of system to choose.
Could we have an RFP as part of that system? Attorney Lango? Or some type of proposal, maybe not a RFP, but details of the operation?
I don't have all the details on this new process by the state off the top of my head. I'd have to look back and see if that's even an option, given the way that they're doing this.
Okay. But would we be able to ask location, plans for the building, what's this gonna look like, that type of thing? Or is it just, here's my license, pick me?
Yeah, so I do suspect that could be potentially legally challenged from cities choosing, because it's really our registrations that we're accepting. We're not going through that whole licensing process. A lot of those things are required by the state. So I would be somewhat concerned, going through that process rather than a lottery system. But again, we can do more research.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of odd that we can't just ask some questions about what are you planning on doing in our city before we register their business and give them the license. That seems very odd.
They would still have to go through the planning and zoning, the building, they would still have to go through all of that process on the through our municipal process for the building, planning and zoning, right? It's not like, just because they get it, they get to do whatever they want. Or is it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Please.
No, they still do have to meet all the requirements that were passed by city council for the zoning code. So there's time, place, and location, all of those things have to be met. The planning and zoning would not review, typically business plans and that type of thing. It is a permitted use if it's a certain distance away from schools, parks, that type of thing. If it's within 100 to 300 feet, then it is a conditional use permit process. There is a zoning code that they do have to meet that criteria of where it's located, when it can operate. But outside of that, staff's recommendation would probably be to do the lottery system because we know that there probably wouldn't be legal challenges at that point.
Would there be legal challenges? Say we got, I think this is only gonna be a problem the first time. And then we can go first come, first serve from there, I think. Maybe not. But say we had 5 applicants, we have 2 licenses, could we have those 5 applicants all go through planning and planning and zoning could then recommend 2?
According to the zoning code, it would only be based on the distance of where it's located. So if it's within 100 to 300, that's when it would be referred to planning and zoning.
It's permitted use unless it doesn't meet the meetings, then it's CUP.
Got it. I don't know what to tell you. If we have to do lottery, then we have to do lottery, but it's not the way I'd like to do it. If you can get us more info on what we legally can control in that situation, that would be nice.
Are you under any time constraint here to come back?
I'm just waiting for you to be done. And
I'm not done, but I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say I absolutely oppose a first come, first served lottery system, right? We have 2. There's gonna be a lot of other towns that have 2. There's gonna be people who get their permit from the state of Minnesota and just bulk apply. And then they'll be holding one of the permits in Brainerd, and maybe they get one in Little Falls, which is much more favorable to them. Well, they're still holding this Brainerd permit that they'll just sell to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
I don't see how that works. We need to have some type of oversight that it's an actual business, that it's preferably locally controlled. I would like Joe to do more research to figure out if and what we can look at or ask on an application for the permit.
How about not transferable?
That staff's recommendation is to have Joe go back and come.
To come back with a first come, first served lottery
We
system.
can talk for another hour.
But I don't want a lottery system. I want to come back with what other options do we have?
Right. That's my feeling too. Mr. Stunek.
There's so many gray areas. We've been talking for 10 minutes. I've got a real simple solution. No, don't allow anything.
We don't have the choice.
And you don't have to
Don't have
worry
that
about it.
choice. That's illegal too.
I have a choice.
Everything's illegal. Anyone else?
Take my choice away.
I gotta give Kevin Stunek high marks for his comment there.
Anyone else? Does that
What's gonna be next?
give clear direction? I mean, we can come with a motion, probably be more clear.
Other cities are gonna be doing the same thing. We can,
Mr. Langle?
Excuse me, I have enough direction, I'm fine, we'll come back with more information as to what kind of control you have. I suspect frankly, given that the state has taken over licensing on this and all you're doing is registering, I suspect outside of normal zoning type of issues that James talked about, you probably don't have very much here. But we can certainly look into that and get back to you pretty
If they
quickly.
meet the requirements, they get the license. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, that's what we have for now. Moving on. Next, we have staff reports.
Should we make a motion, Mr. O'Day?
He said he didn't need one. He's gonna come back.
You want one, Jeff? I know you like them.
I know.
I would move to direct staff to come back with more information on what our options are.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Chesak. Any more discussion? None, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign. That passes.
Now I can go on next report, see?
Moving on to staff reports. Tony Gage. Chief Davis?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Sean Strong.
I guess I'll give a couple updates. Of the tech positions that weren't filled internally, they were posted publicly. They closed Wednesday, about 90 applicants amongst them. We're setting up interviews now, so we could have recommendations in next meeting or two, I suppose. And also, the college is now filling their cable position as we speak, so they should probably be back in the game in about a month or so. So that's all I got.
Back on TV? That's exciting.
Well, yeah.
Before I forget, HRA, Chris Charpentier,
Eric?
Nothing this evening, Mr.
Eric?
President.
Wrong Charpentier.
one of the Charpentiers.
Charpentier.
Connie Hillman?
Yes, so we have a special election to fill the Senate District 6 race. The primary election will be April 15th. The general will be April 29th. All 8 city polling locations will be open both days from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's one change to Ward 4. Generally, both precincts for Ward 4 were at St. Andrew's Church. We could not have it there. So the Ward 4 will all be voting here in the chambers for both days, just for this election.
Get out
That's
the word,
not
Gabe.
even in the ward.
Get out
We
the word,
had,
Gabe.
Can we
found-
use the Lincoln Room?
We found out that we were having this on on March 21st. We found out there was going to be a special election. We found out like 3 days later, we couldn't use St. Andrews. The Council City Hall was the quickest location that we could have.
That's fair, but I think we all knew there was gonna be a special election a few days before that.
I was surprised that this was the process we had to use, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Connie.
This will all be at city expense, by the way. There'll be no reimbursement from the state or the government, so it'll all be city expense.
All right.
Little Caesars, that's what I'm hearing.
Mike Habegorst?
Actually, we are not providing meals for this election.
They're even better.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 items. James and I have met with the UPS staff regarding the just importance of not parking their trailers on the streets. They were open with discussion and they had several ideas, and James and I will be keeping you informed with that process. Also, the second is our transit work unit. I just want to give out kudos to the staff, Crystal, Aaron, and Amy. They have been keeping this operation afloat. Our third-party contractor has been failing on several different manners. One more, just importantly to me, is our vehicles. And the state of Minnesota has also failed the third-party contractor on multiple months regarding our vehicles. And the state of Minnesota is reviewing possible consultant to help us review this operation. I've been keeping Councilman Jezak informed with this process, and this week we'll be having our first kickoff meeting with the state of Minnesota regarding this consulting services, and more information will be at the next council meeting with a full report.
Thank you, Mr. Habegorst. Mr. Kramvik?
Thank you, Mr. President. So the EDA held a workshop last Thursday, discussed numerous items on where to potentially spend some budgetary items in the next couple of years here. The areas that were discussed was the Washington Street project and potentially providing some funding to help businesses remain open and potentially targeting facade improvement grants during the project. The EDA also directed staff gave general guidance to staff to work on new signage standards and potentially additional facade standards along Washington Street. So this will be brought to the attention of the Planning Commission at their next meeting, which is next week. At that Planning Commission meeting, they will be conducting a public hearing for the proposed data center ordinance, so that'll be coming to City Council soon. And then lastly, staff is working with the city attorney on creating an ordinance to end the rural service district. We are receiving a list of all properties currently in the rural service district from the county, and staff will review all properties prior to the ordinance to make sure that they still qualify. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Attorney Langle? Nothing for me, thank you. Chris Schubert? Nothing to add. Jesse Dean?
Thank you, Mr. President. I did receive news today at the ATP. They awarded our Oak Street reconstruction project the $1 million surface transportation block grant. So we will be getting that for the 2029 reconstruction project.
Nice. Thank you. Good news. Administrator Broyles?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing to add. The mayor's report.
Well, Kevin, I was going to make a joke about your microfiche. However, Kevin Stunek informed us that he does not like clowns as well as marijuana, so that was the start of the mayor's report. Speaking of fools, April Fools was this last week, and I don't know if you guys heard or not, but BIR partnered with Hubbard Radio and had a real good little ditty on the radio and on social media in which they said that we were going to be running some national dragsters down Washington Street. Turns out, as I was informed by the police chief, that's not allowed, so that won't be happening. However, I do want to say thank you to those two entities for including the city in that wonderful little bit of tomfoolery. And I will say that it kind of leads to my second thing here. There's some good buzz happening in the city of Brainerd, And it was a really good conversation to have with BIR out there about how excited they are to start kind of looking at what things could potentially look like, right? It probably won't be dragsters down the middle of our busiest street. However, one of the biggest assets in our area has got their eyeballs on the city of Brainerd, and we're really excited to see what something like that could shake out to be. So keep your eyes on that. Which also goes to just the general buzz surrounding the city of Brainerd. I don't know if you guys are hearing it, but I have been hearing lots of wonderful buzz from a lot of different entities. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something right. And I just want you guys to know that eyeballs are upon us right now, and it would be in our best interest to try and capitalize on that as best we can. And then lastly, as the liaison for the park board, just a quick update. Park Board is about to enter into a process of just going through and taking a look at where everything stands, taking a look at what we've done over the last handful of years, and then looking at where we're going to move forward from there, all with the interest of making sure that our budget is in order so that one Gabe Johnson can look at that thing and say, ooh, best budget I've ever seen from the Park Board. So I just want you guys to be aware that they're diligently working on that process, and I'm excited to see them continue the work of one Kevin Yeager from the multiple years past. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to council member reports. Councilman Stunek,
I have nothing.
Councilman Chesak.
April Fool's, very odd time on the radio. We were traveling down to St. Paul that day for unexpected, a funeral, and KQRS, you all familiar with it? They played Soul Asylum's, what's the name of the song?
Misery?
Need Somebody to Love or something like that. And it repeated over and over and over.
Oh, nice.
That's a good one. And I was just, I went on for hours, one song. So that was a very interesting note. I thought you'd all find that kind of entertaining. It's not an April Fool's joke either.
Is that all?
That's it.
All right. Mr. Bevins.
Just to draw attention to item 14A, the Library Community Facility Project Award Letter. I believe that means we are moving full speed ahead to make our library better this summer. And they know about it now.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know, it's great. We're not
Good.
gonna just go in there and do stuff.
Mr. Yeager?
Yeah, real quickly, I had the opportunity to attend a couple of our last planning commission meetings. We do have a relatively new planning commission, and boy, did they get thrown into a couple doozies right off the bat. So I just wanted to extend my appreciation to all of those that serve, especially on our planning commission here recently. It's highly criticized, underappreciated work, and I just want them to keep the chin up and keep doing the good work. And all of it may not seem like it at times, but all of us are listening and appreciating the good work that they do in our other boards and commissions. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the business after hours that was at Yesterday's Gone, I believe that was. And wow, if you want a good burger, that's a place. That's all.
Where was that burger?
Yesterday's Gone.
Yeah. You were there, Kelly.
I was.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear it.
Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. I just got a call from a constituent today, and I don't need an answer right now, but if I can get an answer, they saw that we're giving free bus rides to Gregory Park on Easter. I thought that's really cool, and it's good for the kids. But then they also said, but who's if it's free, somebody's paying for it because there's going to be diesel, there's going to be wear and tear, there's going to be a driver. So do we know if that's being sponsored, or how is that being paid for?
With the state of Minnesota, we get our tokens from them, and then we're going to be subsidizing also that with our tokens that we get from the state. So, but I can look in more very
Through the
specifically.
transportation fund?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing more?
That's all I have.
All right. Chairman Erickson.
Nothing further.
All right. And everything I was going to say has already been said. So I have nothing to add.
That's the benefit of being in the chair.
Thank you all for hanging out until 9:43. We still have a little bit left to adjourn to a closed session. So looking for a motion to adjourn to closed session. Minnesota Statute 13D.03 Subdivision 3C3 to consider offers on the sale of the annex. Motion by somebody and a second by somebody else. All in favor?
Thanks, sat there the whole time. Aye.
Same sign.
What were they here for?
Let's give it